2019 BMW M5 competition package car that gives you a carbon fiber roof, spoiler, a little bit of trim here and there. And I also believe a little bit more power. 4.4 liter V8 twin turboed, 615 horsepower, I believe, right at like 590 to 600 torque. When you want it to, this big family car moves. Like, it fucking moves. You can hear me missing shifts, and there's a reason behind that. It does have a little, not even a little, there's a decent amount of turbo lag. You definitely get a shitload of torque towards the top of the band, and you're not really expecting it. The good news is automatic mode in this thing is phenomenal. This M car actually does not have a DCT, so no dual clutch in this thing, but it does shift just as fast as any dual clutch I've seen, so I'm not too angry about it. M5 has historically always just been a beefed up, faster version of the 5 Series. New suspension, new transmission, new motor, and it does a pretty good job competing. But this year, this generation, it really feels like BMW took the 5 Series, they loaded the gun, and they pointed it directly at the AMG and pulled the trigger. This thing has so many similarities to the E63S. Both of them have all-wheel drive systems that also can be turned into rear-wheel drive or drift mode. Both of them have pretty badass interiors. Both of them have ambient lighting. Both have very similar 0 to 60 times, quarter mile times. The E is a 4-liter V8 twin turbo. This is a 4.4 liter V8. The list goes on and on. Base price of this car with this package is $111,000. I believe base price for a E63S is right there somewhere. And both of them go up to about 130 to 140 depending on options. They couldn't be closer competitors. And I happen to daily drive up at 20,000 miles on an E63S, so I can tell you the two are very similar. This feels a lot more refined though. The interior is very BMW. It's very sterile in here. Porsche hits the nail on the head because like everything in the Porsche is put there for the driver. And then Mercedes is kind of on the other end of the spectrum, right? Everything is just super, super luxurious. Whether it does anything or not, it's just part of the car. This is somewhere in between, but it's not done very well in my opinion. I think if you're gonna go for the super luxury feel, I think you go the full Mercedes route. This feels like they're trying to keep it true to the driver, but then they added way too many features and buttons and knobs and stuff like that. Almost everything in here is digital. You get a digital dash, which I'll touch on in a second. The AC unit is all digital. It's got like raised panels and stuff, which is kind of cool. I haven't seen that before. The whole center console here is all glass. There is actually, I believe it's like an $1,800 option to do a glass shift knob, which I think would actually be pretty badass. This thing has basically everything you could possibly ask for. I don't think it has a night vision camera or thermals like some of the S-classes do, but besides that, it is loaded out. The seats are way better than the E63. So in the E, you had the option of the like sport bucket seats or the luxury seats. And I always kind of thought that, am I getting pulled over? That would have been the 3rd time in this video I have been confronted by cops. Jesus Christ. The AMG, the buckets were a little too stiff and the luxury seats were a little too like old manish recliners. I think BMW kind of nailed it. You only get one option of seat in this thing, but it's kind of in between. It's sporty, but it's got bolsters, it's got the massaging seats, it's got all the features you'd want, and they look actually really good. And these little M5 emblems behind me actually light up at night. Why you need lights in your seats, I have no clue, but it's kind of cool. There are a lot of like little party tricks in this thing. Like there's a lot of features that you don't need, but they're cool to show your friends. For example, full 360 backup camera. When I say 360, I don't mean like top-down view. I mean, you can literally rotate the camera around the car when you're backing up. I've never seen anything like that. I know the Urus did it. I know the Audis have been doing it for a while, but I've never owned a car or seen a car that has this in-depth of a camera system. Also, you can tell it if you're going into a car wash and it'll show you like where your wheels are lining up for a long distance in front of you. I don't think that's very useful, but getting it on and off of a lift or in and out of a trailer, I could see it being useful. Full wireless Apple CarPlay, that's a feature that I haven't seen in anything besides BMW. They are definitely leaning towards Apple when it comes to like their infotainment center and stuff, and I'm 100% okay with that because I'm a little bit of an Apple fanboy. Are you kidding me? This review just keeps getting worse and worse. I legit can't catch a break. I've been pulled over 3 times. My camera battery died. I left my mic at home this morning. My camera has now fallen off of the windshield. This must go on though. I've had this car for 3 days, which is good because I've been able to drive it for 3 days, but I was only supposed to have it for like 1 day. Like this review is gonna be the end of me. What I was saying is the digital dash, it looks badass, but there's not a whole lot of options, not a whole lot of customization with it. With the Mercedes, you had like 3 different modes. It changed the colors and stuff. You could kind of move stuff around where you wanted it. This one's pretty static. You can change a couple things, like some lines come up that are red and stuff when you're in sport mode, but for the most part, it's very limited, and there's also a little bit too much going on. Part of me just wants like a giant digital speedometer, and instead I'm kind of stuck with like this tiny speedometer and everything else, and I can't really adjust it. I can't really move it around, can't really do what I want with it. But I think it's a little too limited, and also, if you happen to change the radio station, I found this out yesterday, that takes priority over your digital tachometer. So anytime you like interact with the infotainment center, it literally overlays that on top of your tack. Which you would think in a sports car, like the tack would be one of the most important things that should always be available to you. And BMW's like, no, if you want to change the channel, we're gonna overlay that info over top of your tack. It just doesn't seem like a smart idea. Also, heads-up display, which I haven't had since I had my E63S. My camera fell off again, and when it did, it turned the lav mic off, and I didn't think to check it. Please give me some like positive feedback down below. Today has been a rough day. This review's not going well. So I love the interior, and at night this thing completely transforms. There's like 5 color options for the ambient lighting, which feels like a little jab at Mercedes. Over at Mercedes you get 64 color options, you get multi-color options, you rainbow and stuff. And here it's a lot more limited, but it does look good at night. And the Bauer & Wilkins speakers even have like little swirls going on with the lights. That just took a turn. Owner of the white M3 here in Sugar Land, Texas. If you happen to watch my channel, just by chance, go fuck yourself. I was filming this M5 in that parking lot for like 30 minutes. M3 blows by me a couple times, looks strikingly similar to this M5. Both are white, both have black wheels, carbon fiber roofs. He decides to do donuts like right next to me in the parking lot, I assume showing off, and then hightails it out of there. In my head, I don't know why, I was like, this doesn't look bad at all, I'm fine. I finished filming for like 7 minutes, pull out of the parking lot, and immediately get pulled over. Tell me that they've been watching me. They had calls, reports of me doing donuts in the parking lot. It's destruction of property, possibly a $10,000 fine. I mean, that's probably bullshit, but they were not happy and they didn't want to hear it. Like, it doesn't sound good. I'm like, sir, it was not my car. They're all like, yeah, okay, whatever. Thank God for the first time in my life I decided to film everything, and I happened to have shots of the M3 doing donuts next to me and pulling in and out of the parking lot. And even then one of the cops was like, that's this car. And I'm like, sir, I'm alone. Like, how would I have possibly done donuts? And the autopilot is not that good. Literally the only reason I didn't just get a huge ticket was because I filmed that. So camera, I love you. Dude with the M3, fuck you. So what's it like to drive? Because exterior wise, I think I like the look of this more than the E, but interior wise, I think I'm gonna go with the AMG. Features, I think I'm gonna go with the AMG. So at the end of the day, it really comes down to what's it like to drive. First things first, you have these M buttons, and the M buttons are pretty badass. If you've ever used a gaming keyboard or mouse, you know exactly what this is like. You set up every option about the way the car drives, your traction control, the way it shifts, your sports exhaust, anything you want, and then you assign it to one of these badass red buttons. It's no different than it's been for the last 10 years in BMW, but the addition of the little red buttons makes you feel like a little bit more special when you press them. Speaking of which, the sports exhaust. The exhaust in this car is probably the biggest letdown I've had so far. I was expecting like this mean growl from the V8. It's almost silent. And why give me the option to open the valves in the exhaust if they don't do anything? You would think when the valves are open, it's extremely loud, but I can't tell the difference when they're open or closed. If anything, I think the speakers are piping in a little bit more exhaust sound, which why are the speakers doing any of that if you have such a badass motor under the hood? That is wide open throttle. In my Mercedes, you'd barely be able to hear me right now. It'd be barking. When I let off, you'd hear a bunch of gargles and stuff. In this, not at all. But this thing fucking hauls ass. 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds is no joke. And even crazier than that is that when you're moving at a high speed, let's say 91 miles an hour, I don't feel like I'm going that fast right now, but okay. And I put my foot down, 90, is that a cop? Please don't be a cop. 91 to 120. Done. The amount of power this thing has is fucking insane, and the way it puts it down is even crazier. The transmission is lightning fast. There's no delay. I'd say no other car does the whole customizable like driving feel as well as BMW does. The steering leaves a lot to be desired, and the more sporty you go with the electric steering, the heavier it gets. I say I want the steering wheel to be in sport mode. I'm expecting to get a little bit more feedback and kind of feel what the car's doing a little bit better. BMW, I think they interpret that as like, you want it to be as heavy as it possibly can be. Steering in Sport Plus in this car literally feels like you're driving like a 66 Camaro with no power steering. It's unreal, it doesn't help at all. So I've actually been leaving the steering in comfort, and then taking the traction control off has been amazing. So this car does have rear wheel drive mode, but even in all wheel drive mode, it will let you kind of push the back end out a little bit and have some fun with it, and it's a lot easier to control. The owner of the car said the first time he put it in rear wheel drive mode, he pulled out of the dealership and did a full 360. And I'm like, I don't want to buy an M5 right now, so I'm not going to try it. And that brings me in the handling, because the handling is great. it's just not as great as the E was, I think. Like, that's kind of the thing, is that this car is so similar to the E63S that it makes picking one very easy, because they're so similar that there's just a couple little things, and I think the E is a better driving experience. The E, in my opinion, was a little bit more badass. It has a little bit more of that like bark and growl. You can feel a lot more. The doors were a lot less insulated. The whole cabin was a lot less insulated. It just felt like you were driving something with a lot of power, where this feels like I'm driving a 5 Series, and until I put my foot down, I don't really know it has a lot of power. It doesn't have that sports car feel, and that's kind of all BMWs recently, with the exception of the M2. I'm actually more excited about the RS7 Sportback that I think was released today or yesterday than I am the E63 or the M5. I'm a huge Audi fan, and I love the way they drive, I love the way they look. So as soon as I can, I'm gonna do a review on one of those. But if you looked at the title of this video, is this thing better than the E63S? After putting 20,000 miles on the E63 and then driving this for 3 days straight as my daily, I would much rather be in the E. And a lot of you BMW fanboys are gonna be pissed about me saying that. I'm sorry. I have a long track record with pissing off BMW fans, and until BMW does something that really wows me, I'm just kind of like, I'm over it, I guess. The M8 might be enough. Honestly, the new M8, that might be the car that changes my mind about BMW. Also, sorry about this review being kind of random, but like, I've had so many problems. I have lost probably 20 minutes worth of footage from my mic not working, the camera not working, the camera falling. This was not a fun one to review. So if you even somewhat enjoyed it, smash that subscribe button. You gotta get the car back to the owner. You know what, I'm just gonna show you that whole process. I'm gonna introduce you guys to the owner of this car. I think he's at some garage that has some sick cars in it. We're gonna go walk around, and then I'll end the video there. Can I park here?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
I love it, but it didn't do it. I think I still like the E63S better. Yeah. Tuned and exhaust, maybe not.
Yeah.
The exhaust is terrible.
So yeah, the exhaust sucks.
So these are all rentals?
Yeah.
Guys, Austin here, he owns the M5. Go follow him on Instagram. You do insurance, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So if you guys are looking for, what is it, like exotic?
Yeah. I do high-end cars, modified cars, race cars, ultra luxury vehicles like this. I do both commercial and private insurance. So
if you guys are looking for a better deal on your insurance, definitely hit him. Holy shit. I am 6'5" and I can like.
Yeah. It's not even, this isn't even like up all the way. I'm 6'3" and I got plenty of room.
This is insane.
I'm like leaned back.
Oh, there's the speakers I was talking about in the M5. So the Mercedes one, I think I like those better.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, they almost nailed it with the M5. Yeah, it's just a little bit off.
And the Mercedes ambient lighting is nicer.
Oh yeah, you can do like multicolors and all that. Yeah, this is, I didn't realize how big these things were. Holy shit. So this is like a, what, $500,000 BMW?
$564,000.
Yeah, okay.
I have a picture of the sticker if you want to like look at it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you know, it's got the $40,000 floor mats.
Yeah, now I'm kind of like, I don't know if I want my shoes in there. Okay, and with that, this review's over. This video's over. Hopefully you guys liked it. Smash the subscribe button if you did. Hit the like button. Comment down below what you want to see more of in the future. I've been watching this show on Netflix called Rust Valley Restores. My girlfriend absolutely hates it, kind of forcing her to watch it. It is really making me want to buy just like a terribly fucked up old muscle car and totally rebuild it from scratch, which is a terrible idea because I have no clue what I'm doing. But I've been looking for a project car, and now I'm kind of thinking like an old school muscle car would be sick. I don't know how to weld. I don't know how to do sheet metal work. I don't know how to look for, I don't know how to do anything. But it could be very interesting. So comment down below what you think. I'll catch you guys in the next one.